I wondered if the panel could speak to how production companies move from the basic work-for-hire model into a more partnership model, and what are those deals like?
Are you referring to co-productions?
Yeah.
That's just really a function of, I believe it's a function of the network you're working with. And each network has different models. I think AETN, which is the parent company of History, has a policy that basically they are going to commission a show and they're going to retain all rights, primarily because they do have networks internationally and they need to feed programming to those networks. So I don't know if there are any scenarios where History has given up rights. I know maybe one or two, but that's primarily because it's a foreign production company
Extraordinarily rare.
Extraordinarily rare that already sold the show internationally or had a distribution division that was selling the show. But for the most part, they don't give up rights. Discovery will, in certain instances, give up rights. Viacom, mostly not. Scripps, no, because they're forming their international division. So it's really catch as you can. And I think that even if you do find a scenario where you can retain rights, and that's one of Left Field's goals over this year. We've decided we want to put some co-productions in place and retain rights. Sometimes even financially that's a difficult model because the network's only going to fund a certain percentage of the budget, and you have to go out to the foreign marketplace, find the financing through a distributor, or do a co-production or a pre-sale to a foreign broadcaster. And it's a difficult model.
And the pendulum seems to switch even at networks themselves when they're on top, and then when they are not on top, they have to be a little bit more flexible. But as a production company owner, I don't think we can do all of one or all of the other because it would put us at risk. But
and I'll also say if you look at the financing model, sometimes it doesn't. Even if you can put a deal in place, sometimes it doesn't make sense to do that deal. I've been in situations where, X budget, you get 70 to 75% from the U.S. broadcaster. You go out and find a portion of that financing, but then you look at the model and how it lays out, and the distribution company needs to recoup, number one, their advance, then their fees on top of it, then their expenses. If you look at what's left, and based on the projected sales revenue, the production company is going to look at it and say, at the end of the day, if I can get 100% of my cash up front, as opposed to, having still 10% of the budget unfinanced or 15% unfinanced, and that's contingent upon the sales revenue that the distributor is going to bring in, and I might not see that money for 3 or 4 years. You take a look at the scenario, and sometimes it doesn't make sense to do the co-production, and you take your deal up front and you commission the project and you don't retain rights.
And A&E gives actual back end where a lot or most of the networks don't. So that's, I think, the other side of it is, are you going to actually get any back end if it's a work for hire?
Right.
It's fairly rare.
And I also think in terms of the deals that you structure, each network has a different definition of back end. AETN is by far and away the best network to work with because it's an AGR definition, and you see first monies out of foreign. Other networks, NBC has a MAG, modified adjusted gross definition, but it's an imputed license fee so that they're not recouping all of their negative costs, so you're going to get the participation sooner. Some networks are looking to recoup 100% of their production cost, and I had to deal with a Viacom network that, the production budget's $10 million, and then you get your royalty statement that says, well, we've recouped $1 million so far. It's like, well, why even sending me the statement, because we're never going to make any money on it. So it's across the board. There's a whole bunch of scenarios and ways to play out.
I wanted to ask about talent deals. So, Brent, you found...
We can hear you.
Sorry. Brent, you found the Harrisons, right? So, when you went to Mary, did Mary need to make the deal directly with the Harrisons, or did she let you do, or your Mary's, the first development people that you were involved with there? Or were you allowed to make the first deals for the first season? Because certainly, the models, and if in fact the network did want to make the deal directly with the talent, how do you feel about that, losing control of the talent, and having the relationship as a production company that could get, cut out of the show essentially when this was your concept? Because this is, these are of course what I'm seeing in other networks, but I'd like to hear what your experience is.
Yeah, no, it's a great question, Judy. This show is very unique in that that I did the deal. That's not the most unique part. It's that I had to go up against a guy who haggles for a living and who's is much better at it than I am, and who was in the negotiation with a couple other producers at the time. So I had my work cut out for me. The first season, I did the deal. I got him at a price point that it was very fair, very similar to what talent get for a first year deal. I had the leverage of knowing that we had history. History was going to put in a pilot offer. Nowadays, I do the talent deals when I have more leverage. But when we're looking at different pawn shops, as an example, we will try to get the talent deal done then. And if you want us to shoot with you, you'll sign the deal now. There's very little negotiation for the talent themselves with the line item they're going to get. I mean, it's really, from everything I've seen, it's like $2,000 to $5,000 for all-in talent, everything for a first-run series for cable, at least. After the first season, History came and asked if they could take the talent deal over. Rob had negotiated to get us locked after first season.
I think it's season 1. I don't know.
So it was, for me, doing the talent deal with Rick, who I have a great relationship with, partly because I got rid of the talent deal. We gave it to History. Rick is very aggressive, and he wants to monetize this property. And I'm not equipped to have the resources that History has. It's gone smoothly, I think, at History, but we're the guys who have to be, there in the field with him. We like the idea that History's paying him directly, that he's not calling us for his checks and stuff like that. It's just made it more clean. But there is that fear, if you are not locked to a concept, to not give it away. And I think if you're not going to be locked, you got to hold on to it.
I think generally speaking from a cable network perspective, there is no specific model for how the deals are done. One thing that we will not do is we will not proceed with any form of filming unless the talent is signed. If we're not going to take them over, they must be signed to the production company, because we're not going to invest in a sizzle reel or a pilot where we can create something where the talent can walk. The model for how you do talent deals is as varied as the shows that you do. If I have a large cast of people who live in the real world, sometimes it's more efficient to have the production company keep and manage those deals. In the case of something where you clearly have stars, it's good for the network to take it over, because we're able to offer carrots and sticks, while left field then can preserve a very clean relationship with the talent. So I don't think there is a model.
And that's during that initial process, a lot of our talent will hire a lawyer. Unfortunately, a lot of times it's not an entertainment lawyer, and as I'm sure anyone who's done any entertainment law would know, that it's not a 50-50 contract that these guys usually get. They're being asked to sign their life away, and if they don't, it's just not going to happen. So we love it when we actually work with lawyers who have been through the process and can really manage the expectations of their client, because nobody's really going to make money off of a series until it's a hit. The network's not, the producers aren't, the talent's not. So it's everybody going in with kind of the same vested interest.
I think a lot of the times is, if you do negotiate the talent deal up front, you then go pitch the network. The legal departments of the networks are going to look to see the contracts as well before you go into production. I think that's almost unilateral right now. So, and you could probably, sometimes you have to go back and tweak the terms.
But that's a good point. I mean, our talent deals now are very aggressive because we know the network's going to be aggressive with theirs. And if we sign them, it'd be easy to get them to sign a one-page deal memo. And then all of a sudden they're like, you bait and switched on me.
And one more thing I'd say, I think in many of those deals, it makes sense to have a clause in there that says subject to network approval, because you can give any credits away, you can give any monetary compensation away or agree to monetary compensation, but at the end of the day, networks can come back and say, well, we can't give a Creative Byte credit, we never do, or,
Right.
you know, we're only gonna give 2 EP credits and they go to the production company, not to the town. So those clauses are typically in there.
One thing also to remember, just as a subclause to that, at least within AETN, we will not pay milestone payments at contract execution now unless we've reviewed the talent contract.